My 2AR MRS GLTC build has been based off of a couple of inspirations. First, the Frankenstein Motorworks endurance car, which I got to drive for several stints at a Lemons race last year. This car, which Mark of Frankenstein Motorworks has used for parts development and testing on his 2AR swap for years, is very fast by Lemons car standards and quite good to drive. Importantly, Mark's car has an unmodified EB60 transmission from a Scion TC2. I've got the same transmission. It's open diff. When I drove Mark's car, I didn't find the lack of a limited slip differential to be too much of a problem. His car only weighs 1,800 pounds and makes 230 horsepower, yet never really struggled with traction. My car, by contrast, weighs at minimum 2,500 pounds and up to 2,800 pounds with full ballast, and it really needs help putting down power. After our second GLTC race weekend at Lime Rock, Mark with a K and I pulled the drivetrain out of the misses in the exciting time-lapse sequence you see here. While we were at it, we double-checked the valve train to make sure we hadn't thrown any rockers that might be causing the car's power loss, which we hadn't. I chucked the transmission in my Toyota Tundra and drove it up to Michigan to see John and Aaron at TRE. You've seen them in some of our past videos, building drivetrains for all of mine and Ben's cars.
Wow, look at that reverse gear in that thing.
Man, I'm telling you, that's strong. You could dump it in reverse. This has been raced on?
Yeah.
How much racing?
I don't know. I would say like maybe 150 laps, 200 laps.
It looks really good. Spent a lot of time in fourth gear with it. You can see that. A lot of time third and fourth.
Actually, third looks damn near perfect still.
Mark, who's only a few hours away in Indiana, was cool enough to come up and meet me at TRE. I really wanted him and John to meet each other, mostly so I could see the resulting conversations between two of the smartest guys I know.
If the C is lined up with the rail like this, when you shift it, it'll compress the C and then eventually fatigue it and it'll want to work its way out. This one probably doesn't matter that much just because, you know, it's not carrying a fork.
Oh, but it's good to know.
Yeah.
That never occurred to me, and it makes complete sense.
So that ramp angle right there is going to also want to piss off that fourth gear so it doesn't crunch on the way into gear.
Well, so that basically breaks the input shaft.
Yeah.
Which then makes it so reverse doesn't crunch even though it doesn't have a synchro. It's using the fourth gear synchro for reverse.
I'd cut that thing off of there and then save that fourth gear synchro so it'll last longer.
This is the open differential that all 6-speed Scion TC2s came with, and there is no LSD available on the market for the EB60 transmission, because the last time somebody actually modified a Scion TC was 2012. OSGeiken used to make a clutch-type diff, and I assume about 4 people bought one. Mark tried to meet this need by having a custom batch of helical LSDs made, even though he doesn't run one on his personal track car.
Planetary helical. Ooh, the troublemaker right here. Because these washers here, if they're not of good quality, these things like to break. The arrangement's really important in regards to how much force there is holding the sun gears out, so this thing's got a little bit of pre-tension on it. I mean, the weak spots are going to be in these gears here, okay? The housing looks strong. I mean, this is massive. I mean, this has got a lot of thickness here. Can definitely take a pounding. Overall, I think this differential it's hard to go wrong with planetary helical. This one was potential for one wheel peel, potential for gear breakage because you don't have nearly as many teeth engaged in mesh as opposed to a planetary helical.
For your car that is a lot more forward weight biased than mine, this will help you a lot. Because I think your car is set up in a way that you're lifting rear tires before front tires.
After all the money I've sunk into the MRS this year, I really don't have the funds for any of the usual beautiful work that TRE does to our drivetrains. Gear detailing, shop peening, isotropic super finishing, and so on. I asked Aaron to just install my LSD, but of course he couldn't control himself. Mark brought an extra third gear synchro to replace the problematic fourth gear synchro, which Aaron machines for better oil flow.
This is stuff nobody ever does. Look at that. It's nice.
Because you'd be surprised how many times you take it and it's only hitting half of the cone.
John also noticed that he already stocked copper shift fork pads that were replacements for the plastic shift fork pads that come stock on the EB60 transmission, reducing the wear of that pad. Mark bought a handful of them from him and now stocks them on his storefront.
Frankenstein Motor Works.
Yes, I will have them for sale.
It was a highly productive visit, which I mostly wanted to happen so I could get Mark to meet John and Aaron, who were able to provide some input on the development of the 2AR EB60 swap that Mark's been pioneering. But most importantly for me, Mrs. the MRS will now have a limited slip differential.
Now we got the engine and transmission back in. Everything's pretty much ready to go. Suspension is back in. We kind of changed the ride height a little bit, so we're going to check to see what the corner weight is. All right, we're completely off.
How's that look?
Your current weight is 2760.
I don't think the car has too much fuel in it right now. We're probably down like 60 or 70 pounds from where we would normally be with a full tank.
Okay. 49.8 and then 50.2 on your cross weight, and then we're at 46 in the front percentage-wise, and that would make it
54 in the rear.
Yeah.
I'm not really gonna have us try and chase 0.2 of a percentage to optimize that cross weight, because we have some more stuff that we're gonna put onto the car that we don't have in our possession yet. We have other stuff that we need to do, like an alignment.
Essentially, we raised the car up because when we were going into almost full compression, it was questionable whether or not the axle angle was correct. Seeing that, you know, at Lime Rock, we kind of exploded one of them. I'm gonna say it's not. We also wanted the control arms to be at the correct, or a more correct angle per factory. So we just kind of, you know, aim for a factory ride height.
And then also, the car has been down on power for every race that we've done in GLTC so far. We've been making like 189 horsepower. Mark from Frankenstein Motorworks actually loaned me a 2AR intake manifold, which I'm gonna try on the engine that I have here and see if that makes any difference. Maybe the 1AR intake manifold that I have on the engine right now, there's an issue. I don't know, possibly. We did send those logs over to Mark, and unfortunately, no change. It was a long shot anyhow, but it does seem like the manifold was not the issue.
No more time to try and figure out the horsepower though. I've got a test track day tomorrow and very limited time to make one last big change to the car to see if we can go faster.
This is one of those changes that we have left to make to the car. We put some uprights on the car and one of Ben's old wings off of the Civic. This is just a tester setup. We just want to see what some rear aero is going to do for the car. Wanted to make a splitter as well, but just no time before this test event. You might say, we told you so. And the reason that I've gone to aero is because we aren't making horsepower. We can't figure out how to run the car the way that we wanted to with 220 wheel and a bunch of weight. So instead, we're going to some aero and a little bit of a lighter weight package with less power. You might think that the wing is gonna generate most of the improvement in lap times. I would say that probably what's gonna give us the biggest improvement in lap times is gonna be the rear diff, because we're actually gonna be able to put down power coming out of a corner. So the first big thing that we're gonna do actually is take the wing off, because we've made a bunch of other changes to the car and we wanna be able to baseline the car. So we're gonna pop the wing off, run it, try and get the whole chassis dialed in without aero, and then put aero on as a bonus.
This is so much faster. Holy crap. The quartering speed We're gonna go get this GT4, baby.
And go get that GT4 Coby did. To clarify, the MR2 is not as fast as a Porsche GT4. Those cars should lap around a 207 at VIR when driven by a pro, but Coby managed to wheel the MR2 to a 213.3, faster than last time by about 0.3 of a second. With major traffic, with full ballast weight, which the car was not running last time, the differential has made my MRS significantly faster.
Bro, she feels amazing. It's like a different car.
Ben and I kept saying it was gonna feel quite a bit different, and it does. So I'm excited to dial this in now because I think we're gonna find seconds.
I make some really big, significant aero adjustments to the car, and now it's my turn to take it out. Coby was not kidding. The LSD has made a huge difference to the car. In a mid-engine car, you have to keep the car balanced by staying on the throttle, or else it will do this. There are very few times where you can afford to be off throttle, especially when you have so little horsepower. But with the open diff, staying on throttle would often just result in spinning up one tire and losing traction that way instead. Now, when you step on the gas, the car actually hooks, and especially in slow corners where traction is really at a premium, it's night and day.
It's a million times easier to run. So much more predictable.
Yeah, I mean
215?
215. So
Awesome.
yeah, I mean that's
Faster than
faster,
last time.
faster than last time for me.
Good.
So that's with all this. So
Yeah, 300 pounds and faster and more comfortable.
yeah, yeah. I mean it's infinitely more predictable. Like it just it's like driving a Miata or something.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try and set the car up, basically how we're gonna run it at our next event at Laguna Seca, which means, let's say we're making 200 horsepower. I don't think we actually are, but let's say we're making 200 horsepower. We can take out, with the wing, we can take out 190 pounds roughly. So we're gonna take out all of these blue weights.
This is what speed looks like, boys.
Each one is 45 pounds, so that's 180 pounds total. And see how the car feels balance-wise, and we're also gonna throw the wing on.
Hey, and don't tell Thorn I'm coming for him.
And then there's more in it for sure.
Buddy, that's 3 seconds.
We went 3 seconds faster just now with just the diff and just the wing, and that wasn't even full potential of the car, so I'm stoked with that. We ran a 210. Last time we were here, we ran a 213, and that 213, I was fighting for my life, whereas this feels super stable. We're flat all the way out of 4B here. If you know this track, it's the lower S's, and we're flat all the way through the uphill S's at turn 10. Car feels absolutely incredible. I'm stoked we're finally catching some traction because now I can help Ben pick up his pace.
With the wing on the car, it's become even more predictable and easy to drive with confidence. Certain parts of the track that previously required finesse are now a simple matter of keeping the throttle floored. The car is immensely stable under braking. Almost immediately, my driving gels with the addition of aero. I run a 213 flat in my first session with the wing, while playing with a slightly slower car ahead, and after some coaching from Coby, I go back out and run a 212.2. Ben's Civic, meanwhile, runs a 209.8. I'm still about 2.5 seconds off the Civic, but that's closer than the gap has ever been. We're finally making progress, and it feels so good.
And to everybody that said I should have done aero and lightweight from the beginning, The only reason that we have to do it like this is because we can't make horsepower right now. So I am by default forced to, you got what you wanted. It's just a regular, boring GLTC spec car. You happy?
Yeah, haters.
It makes 200 horsepower and it has a wing. Cool.
Sounds like the rest of the grid, bro.
Yeah, sounds like everybody else.
Way to be unique.
Lame.
Yeah. What a loser.
In an effort to make the MRS even more like the rest of the grid, I spent the remaining time leading up to Laguna Seca building a plywood splitter. This is my first time woodworking since shop class in high school. After lots of measuring and remeasuring, I have my general shape, which features a splitter blade that is allowed to protrude 3 inches from the front vertical surface, in this case my bumper. The brackets for the MRS chassis I bought from a company called Boosted Fabrication, along with those wing uprights. The quick releases are from our friends at Professional Awesome, and just about every splitter I've seen runs these because they're so convenient. I used a router to round the leading edge of the splitter for better air attachment, and it was extremely satisfying. I'm building an air dam to block the gap between my bumper and the splitter, and I'm using a material called Alumalite. It's basically a big corrugated aluminum plastic sheet. I test fit it to the bumper, and with some right angle metal bits I bought at the hardware store, I screw it into the splitter.
We are measuring right about 3.75 inches from the bottom of the splitter to the ground. The way that splitters work, downforce, right? Like air is pushing down on the top of the splitter, but also more so, it's the suction being generated by the bottom of the splitter pulling the front of the car down. And that works more effectively the closer the splitter is to the ground. And I think we're gonna keep running the splitter at this ride height for now, just because we haven't tested it at all. We're gonna be going to Laguna Seca, and I don't wanna show up with a splitter that's so low that it's dragging on the ground. So we've got this really nice bash bar. It's a front crash bar replacement from Boosted Fabrication. The old hardware that came with the OEM crash bar, and this is some lovely titanium true burn that I'm putting on from Dress Up Bolts, our buddies here at our shop. I went ahead and modified it and put on these Professional Awesome, I think they're called like clevises or something like that, that are basically going to support the top part of the splitter rod, and then we'll have the same part on the bottom that will support the bottom of the splitter rod, and this is going to allow the splitter rod to pivot a little bit.
Once I was happy with the splitter design, I sealed it with black paint and an all-weather sealant. The test for the splitter was a 2-hour drive to Fortunato's open house event, and the splitter didn't fall off. Tomorrow we're going to Laguna Seca, but today I'm just thrilled that the car is finally starting to get faster.